Hi Scrapbookers, this is Megan and I am back today with another Scrappy challenge layout. For this layout, we are going to be working with our scraps. The way that I store my scraps is by color. So what I decided to do for this challenge was pull out my green bag that I have filled with my green scraps and then a blue bag. And so right there I was just mounting my photo on a couple pieces of scrap paper from my green and blue scraps. And then I also decided to pull out this silhouette cut that my husband actually made quite a few years ago. I think this was like 2 years ago. Maybe it was last year. I can't remember. But he was making a photo album for his dad for Father's Day, and this was the cover. But we decided like we had moved the file over too far to the right, and so he scrapped this piece, but I decided to keep it. So I pulled it out and really liked that. I don't know what I liked about it. I just liked the color of the green. And then the cut file was just really cute. And I don't remember if I bought that cut file on the Silhouette store or not. My husband might have just made it. I think he probably made it. But I just thought it was a cute cut file. So here I'm just gluing these pieces of pattern paper that were in my scrap bags. And I'm using my Tombow Aqua Glue to glue those down. And I keep my glue in one of those fine line bottles. I don't think I'm ever going to do that again. I know that a lot of people like those fine line bottles, but to me, they're really, really, really hard to push on, to squeeze the glue out. And a lot of times it hurts my hand. And maybe I'm just really weak. I don't know what it is, but I don't really like them. I do, but I don't at the same time. So here I pulled out another scrap from my blue bag, and I'm going to cut it down. And I'm thinking I'm going to kind of put the photo and the cut file at an angle to each other, but then as I go about, I decide I don't really like that look and I want it to just be straight. So here I'm deciding that I'm going to pull out my gesso and I'm going to put it on the back, because I was thinking that I wanted to do some stenciling or something on the background. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do yet, but I just wanted to prep the background and make sure that it would be able to stand up to whatever I did. If you don't know what gesso is, it's kind of a primer just for mixed media or painting or anything like that. So it just makes the background a little bit more durable. So here I am just spreading it all out, and I'm going to cut this part out. I just made a huge mess on my mat, so I'm just going to clean it up. Okay, so now I am back, and my background is still a little bit wet, but it's mostly dry. So here I am just trying to figure out how I want to put this extra scrap above and below the photo. So I'm going to end up gluing them down, and then I'm just going to cut off the excess because I didn't have a whole lot of that paper. I decided to just make it as big as the photo was and not to have it actually mat the whole photo. So here I am trying to figure out exactly where I want to put this background piece with the photo on it. And then this is where I decide to pull out my Heidi Swap. It's one of those I don't even know what you call it, multi-shape stencils. I think I just got it at Michael's on sale, or probably with a coupon. And then I pulled out my modeling paste and also my teal Heidi Shine. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of that in there, and I really, really, really love this color. The teal is my favorite color. I did want it to be a little bit darker, so I was kind of looking around for another Heidi Swap Color Shine bottle. I couldn't find it for some reason, and then of course I found it, and it was like right on my desk. Isn't that always where we find things that we like can't see right away? It's like always right in front of your face, right? It's kind of frustrating, but I found it, and so I added a few drops. It didn't really change the color too much, but I didn't want to go overboard, so I just decided to go ahead and start putting the modeling paste down. And I kind of did a boo-boo. I started on the left-hand side when I should have started on the right-hand side and gone from right to left, because here I'm trying to not smudge what I've already put down. And I do a pretty good job. So that's kind of nice. And then see here, I even do the same thing, and I was like, what was I thinking? So learn from me, and when you're doing stenciling, go from right to left. I mean, if you're just going to use the stencil once, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But here, where I wanted it to kind of be the whole background, I should have done it from right to left. And then here I'm just kind of doing it in some random spots, and again trying not to smudge what I've already put down. And I did kind of smear a little bit in a couple places, excuse me, but that doesn't really bother me because I'm going to be covering the middle up. Okay, so here I did learn my lesson, and I had some extra, so I decided I was just going to put it on a scrap piece of paper, and I could just put that on another layout some other time. Okay, so now here I am back, and the hearts are mainly dry. I am going to place down the photo and the cut file piece, and I'm going to play around with a few different other kind of scraps, because I was thinking that this layout needed something more than just these two pieces in the middle of the layout. So here I'm going to pull out a few more pieces from my blue scrap bag, and I'm going to cut these up. And I cut up a bunch of pieces, but I actually only use 4 of them. I was thinking at first that maybe I could do a whole row of banners all across the top, but then when I started putting them down, I realized that they would take up a lot of space on the top, and I didn't want to cover up all of those hearts that I had painstakingly painted on there, and so I kind of settle on just using 4 of these banners that I'm going to end up cutting out. So I use that one plaid piece that is a bigger, it's like a thicker banner, and then I'm going to use this floral one, and then I'm going to use 2 of the same paper but on different sides of the little cluster. So here I am just going to play around and fidget with the placement, and this is where I'm thinking I only want 3 banners, but then I'm like, well, but that's not enough, we need one more, but I don't have one that would really stand out because I wanted it to be a different pattern. And so this is when I decide to go into my scrap bag again, and I found this pattern paper that is pretty much the same as the banner that's on the far right. But I was okay with it being the same pattern because they were going to be on opposite sides of the cluster. Okay, so now here I am going to start gluing down the banners, and this is where I decide that they weren't standing out enough. Oh, maybe not. Maybe right here. I don't know. Sorry. There we go. So they weren't standing out enough, so I decided to use a black pen just to create some more like texture to the banners and to give them some more oomph. So now I am gluing down the 3rd banner, and then I'm going to glue down that 4th banner right on top of all 3 of them. And now I'm just cutting off the excess on those taller banners, and then I'm going to glue down this big huge mat, whatever you want to call it. This big piece that is going to be most of the layout. So I just used my ATG gun, and here I place it down in the middle. I was thinking maybe it should be closer to the top or to the bottom, but I really did just like it being in the middle. Now here what I'm doing is I have this 12 by 12 piece of paper that I don't want to use, but it's pretty thick, and so I'm going to use it as a mat for the photo, because for the background, for the whole layout, because it started turning, the edges started turning up because of the gesso, and so I just wanted to make sure that it didn't make the whole layout like warped and everything. So I just glued that down on top of there. Now I'm going to do my journaling, which I started off using one pen and then realized that pen was not going to work with the gesso. So I pulled out this cheapo $1 pen that I got from the Michael's Dollar area. It's one of their Studio G markers. That's not a pen, it's a black marker. So the journaling just says, Tinian never cares what anyone thinks. He does what he wants. He's not afraid to be himself. He ended up not really liking t-ball. He only played if I was close by. Such a silly kid. So he had made up his mind that he was not going to play t-ball, but I kind of made him play t-ball. And so I had to be literally close by. If he was out in the field, I had to go stand with him in the field most of the time. And this was, let's see, he was 4 years old. Well, almost 4 years old. His birthday's in July, so he was almost 4 years old, and he was a little stinker. So this was my way of saying I love you, but you're a stinker. So I just stamped the date, which was June 6th, 2014, up there above that cut file, and I like to stamp it a bunch of different times in the same area. That's kind of, I don't know, like my signature trait right now, or I don't know if you would call it a signature trait, but it's kind of my thing, something that I do. Then I also had some of these stickers that came in my January Click Kit, and so I decided to use a few of those. The one at the top says let's go, and then the yellow one right underneath that one says memories. There's one that says love, and then this pick. And then I glued also a flower cluster. I am again using this black pen on that yellow sticker that says memories because it was white and yellow and you could barely see that it said memories. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to write it in. Okay, so now here I am going to be outlining the pattern papers on the layout, and then after that I think I'm pretty much almost done with this layout. This layout, I don't even remember how long it took, but I don't think it took very long, like maybe 50 minutes at the most, and I think that included drying time, but I could be wrong. So here I decided to use this extra piece up there in the top right hand corner because it just felt kind of bare up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this hooray little ephemera piece down, and that also came in the January Click Kits. So I'm just going to write my son's name and the name of our city and the sport that he is playing, which is pretty obvious, but I wanted to write it down anyway. And that is the end of this layout. That was my husband trying to take a plate from me and thinking he was so funny. So, I hope you enjoyed that little flash of white. That is the end of the layout. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And make sure that you go and watch the other layouts that the other ladies made. And I will see you again next week. Bye!